Yes, thank you, Ben. And thank you to the ADL students and Callista as well. Lastly, we're going to have a last speaker of the day is going to be Brooke Bridges. She is the founder of Building Bridges SEL. It's a social emotional learning consultancy, that focuses on youth. Brooke's career in mental health started decades ago when she struggled with her own challenges as a young person and had to find ways to move through them. In addition to her social emotional learning workshops, she also works as a mental health speaker for youth, where she shares her story with young people all over the country. So I'd like to introduce to you Brooke Bridges.
Thank you so much, Emma. So I'm here to do a little bit of a closing for the wonderful conference that you've been a part of for the last 2 days. And before I get started on sharing what I want to do and our grounding exercise and a couple other things, I'd love it if you could type in the chat one word. If you need a couple more words, that's fine. But one thing that you're taking away from this today, like one positive thing that you're taking away. Mindfulness, respect, power, that's great. Leadership, empowerment, having a voice, love that. Leadership, confidence, it's really great that your opinion matters. Pride, lots of leadership, good, that's great. Confidence, that's awesome. Yeah, keep them coming and I'll continue on. But keep them coming. I changed my mind, not power. Caring. Okay, yeah, so these are all really great things. And the reason why I wanted to see a little bit about what you're taking away is because what I'm going to talk about kind of plays into these things and how we can become more aware in ourselves of how we already see these things within ourselves and then how we can cultivate more of that. So I'm going to share my screen now. And let's see, I have to, where did it go? Okay, here we go. So yes, as Emma mentioned briefly, I am Brooke Bridges, and I am here representing myself, but also in the Berkshire, particularly representing the consultancy Building Bridges SEL. And I wanted to get into a little bit more about who I am so you can have some context around why I do the things that I do. So I'm actually going to stop the screen for now because this is a little irrelevant and I want you to be able to see me so you can feel like I'm actually talking to you. So I was born in Los Angeles, California, and I endured a lot of mental health issues because I grew up as a child actress. And as you can imagine, having the pressures of being an actor can kind of be similar to some of the pressures that we experience now with social media and with all of the pressures of, our families and of society on how we're supposed to appear in the world and be successful in education and our careers and in the way that we look and all of these pressures to just be simple and perfect. And so for me, that created a lot of feelings of a low self-esteem. And it looks like you're all taking away a lot of confidence from this, which is awesome. But it really created a lot of anxiety and depression in me. And it wasn't until I was much older in my early 20s that I was able to actually overcome some of these things and recognize them for what they were and look past what my life looked like, which looked pretty nice and pretty and good and happy or should be, and to really see myself. And so that's what we're going to get into a little bit now. So now I'm going to share the screen because now it's becoming a little more relevant. And so one of the first things that I wanted to do, or was hoping that we could do, is to do a little mindfulness, a little grounding. One of the first things that you all said was that you were coming away with mindfulness, which is great. So, as we know, if you talked about mindfulness in some of the conference over the last couple of days, it's a really great exercise so that we can feel into our bodies, we can recognize areas of tension, we can touch base with our thoughts, we can identify thoughts that might be stressful, we can breathe really deeply and let go of the tensions that we identify and stress that we may not have known were there prior, and we can boost self-awareness. And really what I want to talk about during this is self-awareness specifically, because if we can have that within ourselves, then we can, a lot of the things that you took away from this, we can cultivate more of that in ourselves. So If you feel comfortable, you can go ahead and close your eyes. You can also turn your camera off. Sometimes when I work with people, they turn their cameras off during this section because they don't like it when people look at them with their eyes closed. But if you feel comfortable, I want to invite you to close your eyes and to really just settle into your seat. So wherever you're sitting, on a chair, maybe you're on your bed. And if you can, plant your feet on the floor or cross your legs, whatever feels most comfortable to you, and then rest your hands lightly on your thighs. And so as we close our breath, we're going to take a deep breath, or close our eyes rather. We're going to take a deep breath, and then we're going to do a body scan. So take a couple of deep breaths, just deep in and out, and in and out. And then I want you to start feeling at the top of your scalp. So at the top, very top of your head, and really focus on that area and see if you can just feel like the air on it, or feel your hair. My ponytail's a little tight. So just feel what it feels like on the top of your head. And then we're going to scan down into our foreheads, and we hold a lot of tension in between our eyebrows. So if you're feeling some tension there, give it a little wiggle and loosen that up and relax it. And then down into your eyes and your cheeks, and your nose, your lips, and your jaw. We also carry a lot of tension there, so we can loosen that up a little bit too. And let your mouth fall open just a little bit. And then down into our neck and our shoulders. We carry a lot of tension there too. So if you're feeling some tension, you can wiggle that out a little bit. And then into our chest and our upper back, down through our biceps, our forearms, and our hands. Give your fingers a little wiggle. And then into your stomach, your lower back. Feel your sit bones on the chair or bed or ground or wherever you're sitting. Down into the backs of your legs, the front of your legs, and your knees, your calves and your shins, your ankles, your feet, down into your toes. And give your toes a little wiggle. And so now I want you to find a place of tension in your body, whether it's your shoulders or your neck. And then focus there, and take a couple of deep breaths to release that. So breathe in and out. And then I want you to focus on your thoughts. What are they like? Are they fast? Are they slow? Are they based in the past, the present, the future? Is there any particular emotion that you're feeling now? You feel happiness, grateful, fearful? If it's a negative thought, I want you to hold that thought in your mind. Picture it in like a thought bubble or a cloud. And then let that thought float away. So you can take a couple more deep breaths. And then whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back. Okay, now does anyone want to let us know how that felt for you? Did you notice any areas of tension in your body, or any thoughts that you were having that you didn't know or didn't recognize? Calming, good. Chill, nice. Calming, awesome. Sad, all right, thanks for sharing that. Peaceful, sad. Yeah, I think right now with everything happening in the world, tired, we're experiencing a lot of sadness, right? There's kind of like this underlying feeling of sadness. I've definitely felt it too recently. And that's an important thing to recognize. And also, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Logan. My parents got divorced too when I was a little bit older than you, but that can definitely be sad, especially right now. So those are important feelings to recognize, because then if we can identify what it is that we're feeling, then we can find specific ways to really move through them. Tired, lots of tireds. I think, well, I don't know if it's gloomy over there, but it's gloomy where I am. And that makes me a bit tired. Felt like you were in space. That's cool. Glizzy, what does glizzy mean? Am I just not hip on terms? I want to know what that means. So let me know. Okay, well, now we're going to move on to the next slide. Super gloomy outside. Yeah, here too. I don't like it very much. Tired. Okay, so then the next thing I want to talk about that kind of plays off of the sadness is resilience and transition. So obviously all of you are going to be in a transition moment as you grumpy as you move into the next phase of schooling, which school is so very long. So you're moving into this next phase of schooling, and one of the things that can help us as we move through change and transition is resilience. And I know that we've heard that term before, but it's the capacity to quickly overcome challenges and obstacles. And one of the words that's in the dictionary definition is actually toughness. And the reason why I like to share this is because I want us to think about like what the word toughness means to us. Toughness, what do you think it means to you? You can go ahead and share it in the chat. But when I was growing up, I always thought toughness was something that like where you don't really look at bravery, that's good, where you don't really look at your actual underlying feelings. It was like when you were vulnerable, you shouldn't focus on it. You shouldn't focus on the sadness, not giving up. These are much better. So this is what resilience really is. This is what toughness really is. It's being able to recognize when you're sad or when you're anxious or depressed or feeling challenged and then move through it anyway. But the one thing that we can't forget is to validate it, because change is scary. And it's normal to feel nervous or fearful or hesitant during times of change. And to be strong, yes, but to also be like, it's okay that I'm feeling this way. This is a normal feeling. There's nothing wrong with it. And I think sometimes in our society, we can get that wrong where we're like, no, I shouldn't feel that. So yeah, being able to admit you aren't okay. That's a great one. That's exactly what I'm talking about here. So you're on it. I think you're a lot smarter than I was when I was younger. Okay. So learning and evolving. I already asked you this at the beginning, but maybe you have a sentence now. What is one thing you learned? So, we had a lot of great one word, confidence, mindfulness, but what is one thing you learned that you feel like is like a little short lesson, a tip that you'll take with you into high school? And you can go ahead and write it in the chat box. How to introduce myself to strangers. Nice. Power or strength, using your voice. How to be a fantastic citizen to my peers. Nice, that you can absolutely do it, not to be afraid to jump in. How to be myself. Don't put off work and making friends, that you're not alone. These are all really, really great things. You're unique. That's awesome. Be brave. Try to speak up. Don't be afraid to use your voice. Sounds like you all learned some really awesome things in this conference. Okay. And so one of the things that I obviously mentioned in the beginning was self-awareness. So one of the ways that we can pay attention to how we feel so that we can cope with feelings of stress is self-awareness. Do you think you know what self-awareness means? I want to have you all interact a lot. Obviously, that's why I'm asking a lot of questions. But if you think you know what self-awareness means, you can also type that into the chat. I got a no in there. Being mindful of yourself and how you act, being aware of what you need, knowing what you're feeling and doing, being aware to what you yourself know. Yes, being aware of yourself, to understand yourself, self-reflection, exactly. So self-awareness means the abilities to understand one's own emotions, thoughts, and values, and how they influence behavior across contexts. So across contexts obviously means like at school or with your parents or, with friends or just, in the various ways that we interact in the world. What are our emotions, thoughts, and values and behaviors around that? Okay. And then I think a lot of times, we're like, at least for me, when I was younger, I felt like I didn't know myself. I felt like there's a lot of older adults usually that kind of put things on you about who you are, especially when you're a teenager or a young person. That young people are dramatic and they're, irresponsible and all these things that sure might be true in some moments. But I think when we become aware of what makes us happy and what causes us stress, we can be more clear about who we actually are. Being dramatic is great. Own it. I agree. I'm super dramatic. So I think it's okay too, as long as no one is being harmed in the process of drama. Okay, so what do you already know about yourselves? It makes great entertainment. It's true. What makes you happy? What are things that make you happy? Accepting yourself for who you are. What kind of things cause you stress? We got music, horses, dance, your dog, my cats. See, the dog could be causing you stress and happiness. Looking at yourself makes you happy. Sports, schools causes stress. Yeah, helping other make you happy. It's great. People cause you stress. I get that. And so there's also ways that we can identify how we know when we're feeling stressed or anxious. Because if we can identify, things in our bodies, for instance, if our hearts start racing or our hands feel sweaty or we just feel angry, like we're going to explode, recognizing these little trigger moments where it's like, okay, I feel stressed right now, can help us find ways to cope with those. So how do you know when you're feeling stressed? I see a lot of school makes me stressed. I get that. That was how it was for me too. And from what I've seen, it seems like school is more stressful even than when I was in school. Siblings can't stress you out. Well, that's good. Your head hurts and you feel like you have a weight on me. Yep. How else do you know when you're feeling stressed? Like, is there any other feelings in your body or any thoughts that run through your head? I know for me, my stomach really hurt when I would feel stressed or anxious. Money makes you stress. Tension in your shoulders, you sigh a lot. Tapping of your leg. Feeling guilty, interesting. Stomachache, headache. Yeah, so identifying these, your chest constricts, you get tics. Yeah, I actually have a tic when I get stressed where I hold my ear and I tuck it into my ear hole, I guess is what you call it. So I know when I'm doing that, I'm like, okay, I'm anxious right now. I'm stressed. I'm afraid something is happening. You make a weird sound. Yep. Nervousness, headaches. Ugh. Yeah. Okay. See, these are all really good ways that you can identify when you're stressed. You scratch your head, you shake, crack my fingers. So when you have these little moments where you're like, okay, this thing is happening in my body or in my mind, and I know that this is making me stressed, whatever the situation is. What are things that help you overcome it? Like, what are certain things, the urge to scream? Yeah, sometimes screaming's okay. But outside, outside of there's lots of cliffs in the Berkshires, so we can scream over some cliffs. So what helps you overcome it? Deep breathing, your cat. Yes, my cat helps me too. Music, showering, that's a good one. Gaming, sports, being alone, being away from people, exercise, music, meditation, take deep breaths, sports, having funny convos, space. Space is a really good one, and it gets misunderstood, because we think that, introverts, it's like comes off as this bad thing. But sometimes in order to refuel ourselves, we need to step away. And that's a really, really good habit because it avoids us, lashing out at people, and yelling or saying things that we don't necessarily mean, or things that just simply aren't nice even if we mean them. You love working out. That's awesome. Working out does really help. Okay, great. And so it seems like you all know a lot about yourself, which is awesome. But what is something that you learned about yourself today that you didn't know about yourself before? You're strong and amazing. What else? Your improv is outstanding. That's awesome. You're a good leader. You have less anxiety on the computer. Okay. Like rather than in person, I'm guessing. You're a leader in the making. You have good ideas. You have a massive brain. Anyone can be a leader. You can use your own voice. You can be yourself. That if I chill, I can have good combos without messing up. Nice. So those are all really good things. You have good ideas. Natural learning. Awesome. So how universal your problems can become. Yep. So ultimately, you know who you are, so I think deep down, we know who we are. And a lot of times what happens is all of the stressors of the world kind of blinds us, and it kind of blots things out of our knowing and our true inner knowledge of who we are. So take this knowledge with you, things you already knew about yourself before this conference, and things that you learned about yourself, and things that you potentially learned about other people too, because everyone is ever changing and evolving, and change is good and it's okay. And the more that we can embrace change, the easier our lives become. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you guys for engaging so much. That was really great. So I'm going to pass it back to the Youth Advisory Board and just, let them close it out for you. And thank you so much for having me here today. I hope you took something from it. And I wish I could have been here for the whole conference, because it seems like it was some really, really great stuff. So thank you all so much. Take care.
Thank you.